Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season, and this is the first of the last game week's worth of content on this channel. The Game Week 38 videos have begun, and I thought we'd start ourselves off with some spicy differential 1 week punts for you to take into Game Week 38 and maybe try and make a last minute difference with a player who not many people have in their FPL teams, to see if you can make the difference in mini leagues, make those last minute rank pushes. Let's just see what can happen with this. Just a couple of really spicy punts. So I hope you're going to like this one, guys. If you do, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you're new around here, guys. We're going to go through 8, going from the least spicy to the most spicy, the least differential, until to like a mega differential one at the end, guys. You're going to enjoy this one. Let's get started. Okay, our first differential is Luis Diaz. He is our least differential of the differentials, I suppose. And you'll notice, guys, I've actually split the ownership percentages into 2 categories. We've got the overall ownership, which for Diaz is 6.3%. And then we've got the ownership in the top 10k, which is actually 9.1%. So, guys, the first ownership category, I don't know how much emphasis we want to put in that these days, because obviously a lot of FPL players, or FPL managers, should I say, pick their squads, pick their players a lot earlier on in the season. And therefore, they will have high ownership perhaps now, but when we're looking at the real serious FPL players, a lot of people don't own them. So I do think the top 10k ownership is the one to focus on, really, rather than the overall ownership when making our selection and when kind of considering how differential a player is. But yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way and explain that. So yeah, Diaz is not actually massively differential, but he's certainly differential enough that he can make a difference in a lot of you guys' mini leagues. I mean, in the top 10k, 9.1% of people have Diaz. So that's kind of like 1 in 10 people, slightly less than 1 in 10 people will have Diaz. So it's a little bit differential. It's still going to give you a big advantage if you go for him, and he does really well. Now, this game week, well, this season really for Liverpool could go down to the last game week. This Wolves game at home could be the game that wins or loses the Premier League title for Liverpool. So it's an absolutely massive game, and you do expect Liverpool, if they can, to put out their strongest possible 11. And I truly believe, and I'm sure Liverpool fans will agree with me, that Luis Diaz is in that best possible 11. So therefore, we are hoping that he is going to play. He is just 8 million, so he's significantly cheaper than a lot of the other Liverpool attackers. You know, when you think about Mane, when you think about Salah, who may not even play. We've got Firmino there as well, who, he might play. We're not completely sure. We would say Diaz, because of his, how probably nailed on he is for this game, and the fact that he is only 8 million. This could be a pretty huge one, really, when he is competing with those other forwards anyway. So really, really nice, cheap way to get into the Liverpool attack, particularly those of you guys who have already sold Salah last game week. You want to get back in on the Liverpool attack maybe for the last game week. You haven't done so already. Diaz could be the answer to your question there. This Wolves at home game is pretty good. Wolves have not exactly been absolutely amazing recently. They do seem a little bit on the beach. I don't actually think they can move up or down very much from here at all. They certainly can't move up. So overall, guys, I think this is going to be a really, really good pick for you guys, and definitely one that I would recommend if you want to go a little bit differential but don't want to really push the boat out too far. Alright, let's move on to some slightly more differential players. So Emerson is owned by 2.1% of FPL managers and 4.1% in the top 10k. So this one is a player who is actually picked by quite a few more people in the top ranks of FPL compared to the overall ranks of FPL. So that kind of does say something that if top players are picking Emerson, that probably goes to say that it's a not bad pick. Now, I know Emerson has not exactly been smashing it on the FPL returns recently. He's got a few clean sheet points, obviously, but he's not got any goals or assists, which I know may worry some of you guys. But if we look at the underlying stats here, you can see 0.99 expected goals, 0.31 expected assists. You can see that he's had some shots, particularly in the box. That's how Antonio Conte teams play. And he has been getting actually quite a few nice chances to score goals. Now, he hasn't been finishing them off very well, and admittedly, Emerson is not exactly the greatest finisher in the Premier League, but he is getting a lot of chances. And you feel like this Norwich game could actually be a good opportunity to get even more chances for Emerson. And eventually one of them is going to find the back of the net. We can see Emerson growing in confidence. He's more willing to take more shots on. He is being trusted as the right wing back for Spurs at the moment. And like I say, against Norwich, you think you've got a really good chance of a clean sheet. We know Spurs will be going full strength in this game because this could be a really good game to get them into the top 4. And, Emerson, if there is a lot of shots offered to him, a lot of opportunities for shots, maybe one of them finds the back of the net. If there's a clean sheet involved as well, you know, this is one of those picks that could get one of those random 15 pointers, maybe even more if there's like an assist involved in there, you know, a random 18 pointer from a defender. These happen, but you have to be in it to win it. And you have to kind of look at the defenders who, you know, have got a good chance of a clean sheet, playing in attacking advanced positions and are actually taking shots right now. And you can see, even though Emerson has not scored recently, 0.99 XG suggests that he is getting a lot of very good opportunities. Okay, Martinelli is a little bit of a risky one, but if we want to go a little bit differential in the Arsenal attack at this Everton at home game, then he could be the one. Now, I know a few of you guys will be worried about game time for Martinelli, and I completely understand why, but he has actually been starting games recently. He started the last few games for Arsenal, and he's done, you know, not too bad. He has been taken off at kind of the 60th or 70th minute, but if you are okay with that, if you are happy to go in with that, then maybe that could be not so bad after all, because Everton at home is a very good fixture. We've seen once again that Everton's defence is not infallible. Everton can concede a few goals in certain situations. We've seen it again in game week 37, haven't we? So Arsenal, with all that they have to play for, Everton potentially safe or nearly safe by that point. You know, I mean, it's possible that Everton could be safe by this game anyway. Their players will be a little bit more tired because they've had to play, you know, 4 games in 2 weeks, whereas Arsenal are just kind of playing 1 game a week at the moment. So it could be a really nice opportunity there for some Arsenal attackers to really decimate a Everton team that is playing away from home, that is worn out, is safe from relegation, and why not go for someone a little bit differential like Martinelli? 3.1% ownership overall, 3.2% ownership in the top 10k, getting some opportunities to score goals. If you think he's going to start, if you think that Arsenal, with all that they have to play for, you know, Arsenal could technically go down to goal difference. It's very unlikely that they can beat Spurs on goal difference, but if they want to do that, Everton at home could be an opportunity to do that. So who knows? Could be a really interesting shout. Riyad Mahrez, 4% ownership overall. That doesn't look that mega differential, but if you look in the top 10k, 1.6% ownership, that's really quite differential. Now, I know Mahrez has been a bit of a trolley type player, and we're not really sure when he's going to play, when he's not going to play. He's usually reserved for the cup games, but Man City aren't actually in any cups anymore. And although we said that before, Mahrez still didn't get any game time, or kind of in the double game week, for example, no game time for Mahrez, which was pretty disappointing. However, maybe things will be a little bit different. Maybe things will be different in game week 38, because like I keep saying, a lot of things can go down to the wire in game week 38, and that's kind of where we want to look at the moment. Man City, because they dropped points against West Ham, this game to win against Aston Villa at home on the last day of the season is more important than ever. So therefore, maybe Man City play their strongest 11 in that game, final day of the season, final day of Man City's season. They don't have any more games in other competitions after that or anything like that. And Mahrez, you would typically say, is part of Manchester City's best 11. I mean, at least that's what I think. So if he does play, we know Mahrez can be so good. He has got the best expected goals per game of any player in the Premier League, well, per 90 anyway. It's just always been a case for Mahrez this season of him not getting enough game time. When he does get game time, he explodes. So what your bet really is, do you think Mahrez is going to play? If you are brave enough to take that risk, you can be seriously rewarded with a player who genuinely, when playing, could be considered the best, well, maybe one of the best FPL assets in the entire game. He's got to play first though, and that's the risk you've got to take. But, you know, you look at these stats on screen now, guys, and even in his limited game time, 1 goal, 2 assists in the last 5 game weeks, it's quite mad considering he's only had 2 starts during that time. So if you really want to take a risk on rotation, you fancy Mahrez, you think you maybe can get some early inside information, Mahrez could absolutely smash it against Aston Villa to try and make sure that Man City go all out and try and win the Premier League. TONEY is a player who is not typically considered a differential, but guys, you will see on screen now, 16%, or over 16% ownership overall, but actually in the top 10,000 players, only just over 1% of the top FPL managers actually have TONEY in their team. I don't know what the stats for the top 100,000 would be, but I can't imagine it will be too much more than, you know, 3, 4, 5% at absolute most, because a lot of people just don't have TONEY in their FPL team, particularly over the last few game weeks. He's had some very tough oppositions, and he's not, you know, produced a phenomenal amount of returns, to be honest. So a lot of people have given up on TONEY, particularly. He's had no double game weeks or anything like that, so he's kind of been shoved to the side of a lot of people's minds. But this game week 38 fixture against Leeds, could be a good opportunity to reinvest in Toney. Go back to Toney and see what he can do. He is a player who can be quite explosive in terms of points. You know, you only need to get a penalty. You only need to get, you know, ERIKSEN providing those chances for him, for example, and he could actually do quite well in terms of getting some FPL returns. He's done it before. We've seen a lot of times this season already, particularly in the last few months, him getting those real nice 10+ point hauls. Against Leeds at home, Leeds, a team that is still really struggling defensively. I know Leeds have got more to play for in this game, but at the end of the day, they're not suddenly going to become an amazing defence just because they need to be an amazing defence. If they could do that, then they probably would have been safe from relegation already, wouldn't they? But Toney, if you want to go in on a certain striker, you want a new striker in your team, and you want one who is slightly differential among the higher ranks, then I'd definitely say Toney is a really interesting one to go for. His underlying stats are pretty good, despite the very few returns. You can see 1.62 expected goals, 1.47 expected assists, which is underperformance. Maybe he can turn that around. You know, overall, you know, over the season, these things typically kind of balance themselves out depending on the quality of the player. I think Toney is a good finisher, so I do think he can potentially do it and produce a random haul. You know, with penalties, you kind of got to be in it to win it, so maybe it's time to go in it. Next up is Jarrod Bowen. Now, here is a name that you probably haven't heard for a little while on FPL channels. I mean, I was probably hyping Bowen up earlier on in this season way more than was interesting to anyone. You guys are probably sick of me going on and on and on about Bowen so much. We were pretty much the Bowen fan club over here, but it has gone a little bit quiet just because West Ham have not had double game weeks. So we've kind of been overall just ignoring West Ham assets a lot just because no double game weeks. We've been focusing entirely on double game week players. But over that time, Bowen has kind of quietly been ticking along, well, quietly in FPL terms anyway, quietly been ticking along with some insane point hauls. I mean, he just scored 2 against Manchester City. He got 3 assists the game before that. I think he got a return in the game before that as well. So he really is, well, actually not before that. I think it was like 2 games before that. I can't remember exactly when the one before that was, but the point stands. He has been getting so many returns in the past 5 game weeks. One of them was a substitute appearance as well. But I guess from 4 starts, he's got 3 goals and 3 assists in his last 4 starts. I mean, that is just absolute madness. So he is just going on a mad one as well. We know how much of an insane player he is. He's just so good. And that's why we were so obsessing, you know, just obsessing over him earlier on in the season. And he was an absolute must-have in FPL terms. He still is. He still is a fantastic player. And that's not changed. We're just not talking about him as much because of the lack of double game weeks. And that pretty much is it. That and, you know, West Ham in other European competition as well. A lot of people still don't think of Bowen as a differential, 11.3% overall ownership, but if you consider all of the players, you know, FPL managers who are kind of dropped off, not concentrating so much, or, you know, maybe some of the slightly lower skilled or more casual FPL managers, which is fine to be, you know, I'm here to try and get you to another level. In the next level, I guess, in the top 10,000 players, 0.2% ownership. So that's a super differential player. Hardly any people in the top 10,000 have Jarrod Bowen. It really is quite mad how few people own Bowen. So definitely one you could possibly consider. He's pretty cheap. I know he's a midfielder, and we've got this West Ham game in Game Week 38, which could be really important. West Ham still have the potential to actually go into 6th place and get the final Europa League position. It could happen. West Ham are going to be very motivated for this game. They're going to put out their full strength team. It's them versus Manchester United for that last Europa League position. Can they do it? If they can, who's going to be the man? Bowen. Okay, 2 more guys. We've got ERIKSEN next. Again, we are going in on this Leeds fixture. Leeds at home is just a good fixture to target in general. We all know that by this point. And Christian Eriksen has been playing very well as well. He is just, you know, he is like on a reel, probably slightly too good for Brentford, but fair play for Brentford for giving him that opportunity, giving him that chance to come back into football and just show how good he is, and he really is quite good. 3 assists in the past 5 game weeks. He's got decent underlying numbers there as well. You can see that he's taken a lot of shots. Admittedly, a lot of those shots are outside the box, but that's the Eriksen, that's the Christian Eriksen special, right? Getting those free kicks as well. He's a free kick specialist, so you never know, you could get a goal in that way. His overall ownership is 1.4%, so even overall, he's really differential. But in the top 10,000 players, he is just owned by 0.1% of FPL managers. So that is seriously differential, and a player who hardly anyone is going to own. And if somehow he manages to bang against Leeds at home, and you know, that is like more than possible, right? You know, particularly with the creativity that he's offering at the moment. If Brentford go out with a bang with Christian Eriksen in tow, then, you know, we could be on for a real rank swing if we have Eriksen in our team. So definitely something that could seriously power boost the end of your season in theory. But Eriksen has to do very well in that fixture first. Now, guys, this last differential is very interesting. So I just want you to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Make sure you like the video. We're going to go in. Here we go. The final differential of the video. The most differential of them all. Who could it be? It's Lukaku. We have gone for Lukaku as the final differential for this video. Again, another player you don't typically think of as a major differential, owned by 7.5% of FPL managers overall. But in the top 10k, I had to add an extra decimal point to the graphic you see in front of you. This is not a mistake. In this particular one, I had to add an additional decimal point because his ownership is so low among the top players of FPL. You know, it's really low in the top 10k. It's going to be really low, therefore, in the top 20k, 50k, 100k, 200k, whatever you guys are aiming for right now. Lukaku is just so differential. 0.04%. That is actually crazy low. So nobody has him. He is just kind of finding his form finally. I mean, Chelsea fans, you're probably pretty frustrating because, you know, it took him long enough. Why has it taken him an entire season to find his feet? But he is playing really well at the moment. All credit where credit is due. And he's obviously scored 3 goals in the past 5 game weeks. Obviously, those goals were a little bit more recently than 5 game weeks. But, you know, that's even more reason to go in on Lukaku, a player who was trusted, remember, in the FA Cup final. I think that sends a big statement that maybe Lukaku is the main starting striker for Chelsea now. Is he going to play in game week 38? Are Chelsea going to have that 3rd place wrapped up by game week 38? I mean, possibly. Maybe that's going to be a cause for concern or maybe a little bit of rotation. But if Lukaku plays against Watford in the form that he is right now, on that little ownership, I know he's a very premium player, but that is an insane differential. I mean, that's like, if Lukaku plays in that game, that's the kind of almost the equivalent of Kane against Norwich, for example, in the sense that they're both kind of premium, but have this amazing fixture. They're both forwards. I agree that Kane is probably the better choice out of Lukaku and Kane, but say there is a situation where Lukaku somehow massively outscores Kane. You've gone for Lukaku. Nobody owns Lukaku in your entire mini leagues. Suddenly, you are the talk of the town. You have made that massive rank rise. And the thing is with differentials, you do have to be in it to win it. I know I say that phrase a lot, but if you don't actually go for the risk, then you can't reap the rewards of the risk. So if you are wanting to make some serious moves, maybe Lukaku over Kane could genuinely be the answer to whatever question you are posing right now. As long as he starts, that could be really good. Watford at home, like, think of the goals that Watford are conceding, the injuries that Watford have at the moment. I honestly think that this could be a crazy differential, and I can't wait to hear about if some of you guys actually go for it, because it could be mad. That is the end of the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you are new around here as well. If you're going to go for any of these spicy differentials, please do let me know. I would love to hear from some of you guys of what kind of differentials you're going for, whether it's one in this video or whether it's someone who I haven't mentioned in this video. Love to hear a little bit more about what potential crazy moves you're making for game week 38. It's all good fun, and that's exactly what FPL is all about. Guys, we're going to have so much content for this week. Don't you worry about that, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But aside from that, guys, I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.